What is Moscow is burning mean? Fuck it. Normally I would stall more. Let's talk about it. It's actually so important to me. Obviously, it's a story I've covered in some way for a while. I'm gonna give you a tiny recap and talk about what just happened, which is kind of insane. The war in Ukraine has been going on for 4 years and 4 months, longer than the Eastern Front of World War II. One of the longest conflicts that modern Russia has been in. It's insane. And if you look at it on a map, one thing you'll notice is how little that Putin has actually accomplished. These are the battle lines in 2022, 4 years ago. Then in 23, then in 24, then in 25. This is 26. He has sent 2 million people, 1.3 million on the Russian side, 800,000 on the Ukrainian side, to die for a few miles of territory. An absolute humanitarian disaster, a huge waste of life, an ego-driven war disaster. I mean, it's what Iran might turn into if you give it 5 years. 2 million casualties. I'm sorry, dead or injured. Dead or injured. I'm sorry, casualties. Casualties, not dead. That's correct. 2 million casualties. And by the way, it's all of this is under fog of war. So exact numbers are disputed by both sides. But it strongly indicates that over 1 million young working age men in Russia are out of work, are out of commission because of this war, which is insane to gain, again, a few square miles of territory. It has become brutal, grueling trench warfare. However, in recent months, the strategies that Ukraine has employed have started to gain them momentum. I won't say openly turn the tide, though some will say that, but they have started to gain momentum using robots, drones, and other things I'm gonna talk about. But what's particularly unique, and why I'm talking about it today, is that less than 48 hours ago, the war, which has been isolated primarily to the Ukrainian front, did what people thought was impossible a few years back, and it reached Moscow. This is the scene in Moscow less than 48 hours ago. Thick black smoke over the city. Again, Moscow is hundreds of miles from the front, deep within Russia, and has a 3-layer air defense system. Previously, it was considered completely impenetrable, and now Ukrainian drones are not only striking deep into Russia, they are striking in the heart of Moscow, hitting fuel depots and cutting off supply lines. It's crazy. It's unthinkable stuff that's happening. So a couple things that have been shown throughout this war, which were defying conventional wisdom. Tanks and armored vehicles, which were considered to be extremely important for the war effort at the start, have struggled. They've been much less useful than it indicated. Masses of cheap drones can spot and attack them. So they've been destroying all these, what they thought were advantageous Russian tanks. There's been weird tactics like drone nets that have been way more important for moving vehicles than ever thought before. Crazy shit like a single ground robot that looks like this defended a position from Russia for 6 weeks. 45 days straight, this one robot, unmanned with no humans, held a position. These are things that never happened in war before. They also had, I talked about this on LS, but the very first position taken entirely by robots. The first unmanned hill that was assaulted and taken happened by Ukraine. This is the first wave of weird stuff that's happening, and you're seeing it all happen in Russia. But the craziest thing, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but one of the core reasons why in recent months, Ukraine has started to have wild advantages and strike places they never thought were possible is that Ukraine created essentially a battle pass for war. I am not exaggerating. Kill Russian soldiers, win points is not an exaggeration. They created a system where if you record striking priority targets, either killing an enemy soldier, destroying a tank, hitting a depot, you gain E points. It sounds like I'm making it up. I'm not. It is a point system that rewards battlefield kills. And what it does is it incentivizes them to strike priority targets. And when they get these points and then record them and show it, they can redeem the points for hitting priority targets on a store like this. This is a real Amazon of war called Brave One, where they can turn their points that their unit gets into more equipment for their unit. Now, this sounds insane, but what it does in practice is, first of all, it motivates soldiers to strike the most highest priority targets. Number 2 is the most effective units get the best equipment. So if you are the best drone pilot squadron, You are getting the best drones and the best missiles and the best. It is like the way to allocate your military resources most effectively. It's a little dystopian. It's crazy they've gamified war, but ever since rolling this out, they have started to see unprecedented success with drone warfare. Look, they literally have a leaderboard. This is not made up. They have a drone combat leaderboard that gains points to get more soldiers. I mean, like they have like monthly results. It is wild. And look, they'll say, the reason it works is this is the Ukraine's defense minister. Military units receive resources. It sounds like a game. The way he speaks sounds like a game developer speaking. Military units receive resources based on results. The more targets they destroy, the more points they earn. This is an incentive that enables units to strengthen their capabilities with new technologies. It's genuinely wild. And these drone units are starting to expose gaps in Russia's defense. This is 6 hours ago. Once seen as almost impenetrable, Russian air defenses are now under growing strain from Ukrainian drones. They're just constantly hammering at different weak points and then finding huge upside in results that earn them more points, which give them more equipment. And then it's like snowballing in a lot of crazy ways. It's giving Ukraine rare momentum against Russia. After what was a grueling multi-year trench warfare, they're starting to see real success. It's wild. Soldiers are incentivized to go after very complex and more challenging targets, like rear area infrastructure, barracks, and trucks, far away from the front. Before they were just bombing tanks in the front line, now they're hitting oil supply depots, refueling stations, supply delivery trucks, and it's completely causing chaos and mismanagement, disorganization in the Russian supply line. It's wild, bro. And I'm not kidding. They're literally wargaming it. This is a real screenshot. They are wargaming it, and it's successful. And so when you look within 48 hours ago and they're striking the heart of Moscow, you got to imagine that's a lot of points. They're hitting oil depots in Moscow, and it's bringing the war directly to Russia's doorstep. Moscow was the heart of Russia and was seen as insulated from the broader effects of the war. And what's crazy is, this is the video from yesterday. This fuel storage depot explodes. Although, I'll have a little note on this. And this explosion with the lid flying in the air instantly went viral worldwide. There's memes about it. It's this crazy viral thing. It turns out that while drones did hit Moscow, this particular explosion was because Russia's air defense missed and hit themselves. But it just shows the level of disorganization and chaos that is happening on the Russian side because they're getting hit in places they never thought they would get hit. The panic is starting to spread. Again, in the heart of Moscow, they're having 1 in 4 gas stations across the country are now having restricted sales. They're having gas lines because they cannot supply every fuel station. And that is hitting the heart of Moscow. So people are actually really feeling the economic pain. And by the way, Russia, which should have an absolute field day selling oil right now because oil prices are up because of the Iran war, is actually, they saw like a 5% decline in oil exports entirely because of Ukraine's strikes. They keep hitting the refineries and the export facilities, so it's actually slowing down Russia's oil sales, which is how they fund their entire war. It's brilliant. I mean, it's brilliant. It's not, the whole thing is disastrous that we're in this war, but what Ukraine is doing, David and Goliath style, is absolutely brilliant. It's unprecedented. And Russia's central bank, which in a rare moment of like speaking against the war and Putin in a way, is basically openly saying, hey, I know everybody wants us to cut rates to juice the economy. We can't cut rates because we have economic difficulties and a fuel crisis. Inflation is already hitting so hard, we cannot cut rates anymore. So the Russian economy is like freezing up. They're at 14.25% interest rate. Like the cost to borrow is already so high and they can't lower it. I mean, they did a tiny lower, but they wanted to lower it more and they couldn't. So it's like things are freezing up behind the scenes. And despite what you might see from like obvious Russian bots who come out in full force whenever everything gets talked about, there's a momentum that is building outside of Ukraine, in countries outside of Ukraine that are starting to see it. The EU has just restarted membership talks with Ukraine because Hungary, which is like the last veto voting against it, has dropped their opposition. So now there's like a real chance that Ukraine will rejoin the European Union. And they're still supporting Ukraine with money and funds and weapons, even though America stopped doing that. The EU still is doing that. Recently, a real sign that momentum is changing is that Belarus, which is the country bordering Ukraine from the north, who has previously been deeply allied. Basically, I mean, not openly, but obviously, their president, Lukashenko, has been in name out of the war. Like in the name, he has no side, but has been obviously helping Russia and Putin. I mean, he's been clearly spotted with Putin. He's been clearly helping him out. But he recently said, I apologize to Zelensky. After like saying he should surrender for years, he said, I apologize for saying that, which is like a really big sign that momentum is changing and Ukraine's army is like very powerful. And what's crazy is Zelensky's response was, okay, if you apologize, then get rid of all your radar towers that are helping Russia along the border. And he said, if you don't do that within 1 week, I will. This just happened. This happened like yesterday. So there's like a bit of a like Zelensky's walking around with some aura, with like some confidence of like, they really do have momentum. And the Ukrainian military is a elite fighting force at this point. In a world of drone warfare, there is basically no military more practiced and cutting edge than Ukraine right now. It's undeniable at this point. And a lot of people are starting to notice. Maybe not America, because we're seemingly behind the times, but like the UK is offering Ukraine missiles with no US components and trying to trade with them for drone knowledge. Germany is signing a defense deal with Ukraine to help work out plans for joint production of advanced drones and battle-tested drone systems. All the Gulf states, basically everybody around Iran is like, we will give you as much oil as you need, just teach us about drones. Like everybody within range of Iran's drones, like whatever it takes, you could have oil, just please. So like, even though famously somebody said that he doesn't have the cards.
You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you.
It turns out he actually does have some pretty powerful cards that have become pretty important for other countries around the world, saying this openly, which is pretty wild.
So I think the tide has actually turned. I think we Europeans have to understand that, you know, we need Ukraine more than Ukraine needs us.
Think about that. President of Finland did say, correctly by the way, that NATO needs Ukraine at this point more than Ukraine needs NATO. Ukraine has found a way to get the money, the supplies, the oil, and the fight done by themselves. And so now their expertise is of more value to NATO than they are outside of it. And him saying that is a pretty big tide shift in how it's been handled. And so this piece is from 5 days ago, where the FT reported that the Ukrainian drone campaign has choked off Moscow's lifeline to Crimea, which is where one of the battle lines is. And apparently all of the fuel lines and the supplies are being cut off with drones. 1 hour ago, this happened in Crimea, hitting a fuel depot station. Like this article is being proven true in real time. They are cutting them off. The drone warfare is effective. Now, does this mean the war is over and Ukraine has won? No, absolutely not. It is still a grueling, grinding, horrible loss of life in war, okay? And Zelensky, 2 hours before this presentation, said, I am warning of a massive impending attack, that Russia, after being attacked at Moscow, is going to retaliate in a major way. But this will be like the 5th or 6th time that Russia has said, this time we're going crazy. This time is our massive surge. And Russia is losing all patience on the home front for this level of recruitment, economic damage, oil damage. So I don't know what this actually means, but Zelensky's warning is worth taking a listen to. So what I'm trying to say is it's at this moment more than ever that I think what the Finland president is saying is correct. America should not be treating Zelensky the way he was treated here. In fact, this leaked report just came out that fucking Scott Bessent said Trump should not meet Zelensky because he's a little fucker, a special needs child, and Mr. Bean on crack. This is not how we should treat what should be an extremely important military ally. I don't understand what's going through this administration. I don't understand why they are so cozy with Russia. I don't understand it. But anybody at this point who does not see that Ukraine is someone you should be allied with and trying to help is crazy. And the fact that we're spending so much money and time and effort in Iran, of all places, when this is a real, successful effort to deal damage to Putin, is wild to me. It's wild to me. But that's sort of the update. I just want to say, obviously, I'm excited for what Ukraine is doing, but in no way am I excited about what's happening with this war. I wish it was over. I wish it had never happened, but I certainly wish they would end. I hope they can find peace, but it seems like with Putin, the only way they can find peace is through strength. And so I'm impressed and hopeful that Ukraine will continue its momentum. It's just a cool bit of hope and story in how they have pulled off the impossible odds using new tech. More than 4 years into Putin's invasion, The advance of Russian forces has slowed to a crawl, while Ukraine strikes are evading Russian defenses and hitting military and energy infrastructure. They're just getting picked apart. And that's the update. That's what's happening in Moscow. Yeah, that's it. That's the update. Thanks for watching.